Ripple XRP, so we are the secret source, and that is of course the XRP ledger. It is the underlying technology and how we can help in the economy in the real world sense. Also, we have news about the XRP ETF could potentially be next. A lot of people have been talking about this now that we have seen the spot Bitcoin ETF approvals, but we are going to be having a look at a timeline or when it could potentially occur as well, because you never know when that could potentially be coming out. Now, as you can see, quite a lot of the coins are down today. XRP is down by 4.2%, HBAR is down by 6.1%, and Solana by 6.2%. So a lot of these coins are down by 4% or more. All I ask from you guys are two things, which is to smash that like button and to subscribe to the channel as well. And so we're actually going to take a look at this, where it says that the secret source is the underlying technology, and in our case it is the XRP ledger.
Their secret source is really the underlying technology, which is in our case the XRP ledger. It's been facilitating 2.6 billion transactions, over $1 trillion of value since 11 years without security incidents. It's really built for institutional grade use cases with native primitives and so forth. And so look, Ripple's DNA since pretty much the beginning has been about how can we make this technology matter today in the real economy and not just somewhere in an isolated cryptoverse, so to speak. And so we had to abstract away some of the complexities of blockchain technology, but also use elements of intermediation, right? And so combining elements of like CeFi and DeFi, if you will, to offer something that works today, that is regulatory compliant. And here we are, we're facilitating billions of dollars of payments every year in a matter of seconds to hundreds of customers in 70 markets.
And this is the thing, we actually have a real world use case. So as we know, we have the XRP token, and of course Ripple, the company, is behind it. The XRP ledger is essentially where the magic happens. Now we have millions and billions of dollars that have already been paid and settled using the XRP ledger. I think that this just goes to show what Ripple have already achieved so far, outside of it just being in the crypto space. This is what's going to help individuals and also institutions as well. We talk mainly about cross-border payments and how the XRP ledger is able to solve that, right? Just say we are making a payment to China of 100 million from the US, and obviously we are going to need a bridge currency to be able to solve that problem. And also what ties in with that as well is that we are able to have fast settlement times. Institutions can no longer wait for weeks or even traditional banking working days. They need to be able to have access to the system and make payments 24/7, 365 days a year, and that is essentially what we can offer. We have also seen other utility cases, for example in Africa as well, when it comes to cross-border payments, and this is mainly to do with the fact that a lot of individuals over there are actually debanked. They don't have access to a bank account, and the infrastructure for the banking system is very poor. And so with the cross-border payments, it will help those individuals as well as those local businesses. And also we do have the low fees, right? That is one thing that very much stands out. If you're able to have low transaction fees, so you don't have to pay high fees in order to transfer money in general. And I do think that the XRP ledger is very undervalued. In addition to this, we are also working on CBDCs as well, and the pilot programs when it comes to issuing these for governments, for example with your digital pound, euro, and that will definitely be a very exciting development to see. Now let's take a look at this interview. So we have James Seyfarth over here representing Bloomberg, and he actually expresses his opinion about the XRP ETF and why we actually might not see it anytime soon, but it could actually happen maybe going along the line and possibly after the lawsuit.
Some people throwing out wild ideas about, XRP or Solana ETFs. What do you think about that in the context of potentially a new administration in the US in a year's time?
Not anytime soon is the short answer, but I'll explain. So ironically, as much as I hate to say this, I'm not a Ripple guy, but that court case could make it so that they theoretically could be next. The template right now that I have to follow, and everything I know about what the SEC is doing, is you need a futures market that is federally regulated, so regulated by the CFTC, in this case the CME. And the only assets we have trading for and have futures for are Bitcoin and Ethereum. So I think the first thing you need is, one, you need a CME futures market right now. And then you probably need a futures ETF, but maybe not. Maybe the SEC will just accept the futures and allow you to go straight to spot for the next asset. But right now, you probably won't be able to do that, as far as I'm concerned. Or you need a literal act of Congress. Like people joke, like, oh, you need an act of Congress done. Like, yeah, you might actually need a literal act of Congress on like a market structure bill to figure out how they're going to handle these other assets. And I'm watching the court cases that the SEC is in, involving with you guys at Coinbase and your competitor Kraken and some other things, to see how this is going to shake out on whether these things are going to be considered securities or not. So I guess theoretically, I'm viewing it as Bitcoin here, Ethereum here, and then like everything else, like not even in the screen here. Maybe Ripple would be a little bit above everyone else because of the court case, which might set some precedent once it's done. But even still, I don't see the SEC approving this thing for all the reasons I said, and because they are still calling Ripple a security. So yeah, that's the way I'm looking at it. So basically, you need a CME futures market. So if we see CME try to file for a Solana futures or Ripple futures or something like that, then maybe we can start talking about it. But as far as I'm concerned, they are not even in my sight of happening anytime soon.
So that's his opinion as of now, but I'd actually like to see a follow-up on this because he mentioned over here that the SEC still consider XRP as a security, but we have actually already ruled that one out as a non-security. The judge ruled it last year back in July, and so I do wonder that if he was aware of that information, would his opinion be different? But he talks about the future and the fact that only Bitcoin and Ethereum have it, and he basically said that the next one that we could potentially be seeing are Ethereum ETFs. I know that a lot of people have been putting that Ethereum ETFs on the spotlight, and it obviously does make a lot of sense as to why that could potentially be the next one. But then after that, he says that everything else comes next, and he said that Ripple might be next, but only because of that lawsuit and it being concluded. And in terms of the timeline in general, I do think that the last date that we have for the courts is roughly around about June, and so we've still got 6 months to go in order to even conclude this and get this out of the way. And then after that, I think the next question would be the IPO and whether we're going to be having that coming down the line, and then probably an ETF. And so because of that very long timeline, we're going to basically have half of the year that we won't be able to do anything, and the other half of the year where we might actually be on this fence. I think that it's highly likely that we won't be seeing an XRP ETF for this year. Now, we actually have some statements from the CEO of BlackRock over here, and Larry Fink has actually said this on Fox Business. Now, he said that if you're fearful of your government or worrying your government is devaluing the currency, then you could see this as a great potential long-term store of value. It's like digital gold, and this is where he's talking about Bitcoin. It is a ledger, but it's an international ledger that's cross-border. It's bigger than any government. The advent of the Bitcoin ETF is an example that we're legitimizing this asset class. So he's essentially saying that Bitcoin is a hedge against inflation and that you shouldn't be worried about it. But it's very interesting to see Larry Fink's thoughts, considering the fact that he did say that Bitcoin was involved in anti-money laundering a couple of years ago. But of course, now he has a change in his opinion, and along with these approvals, I would say that it does make sense that if you are worried about fiat currency and in terms of the inflation, then you better put your money elsewhere, and the best place to do that is obviously in cryptocurrency. And of course, he is talking about Bitcoin here. Now, the average person doesn't have enough to be able to actually purchase Bitcoin, and so they are looking at other coins, for example, like Ripple XRP or Stellar XLM or Hedera HBAR, coins that are much cheaper, but also those with utility as well. They're not just coins that are going to be coming and going or pumping and crashing. Now, before we have a look at the price action today, I just want to show you what Gary Gensler has actually said about the SEC hack. Now, he has said that while the SEC staff is still assessing the scope of the incident, there is currently no evidence that the unauthorized party gained access to the SEC systems, data, devices, or other social media accounts. So my question poses here that if there is no evidence, then how do you know that there was an unauthorized party that gained access to your accounts? Because you actually did say that there was a hack, and that would imply that somebody else from outside the organization hacked into the accounts. I mean, does it mean that it is an inside job as well? Because that's certainly what I'm thinking. And the SEC staff cannot be looking at the incident. It has to be somebody else external, because if they're going to be looking at it, well, they are only going to work in their favor. They're going to misrepresent it, because if it was somebody in the SEC, they wouldn't actually announce it. As I say it time and time again, internal investigations are a waste of our time, but I definitely think that somebody in the SEC should have been held accountable when that statement came out saying that the spot Bitcoin ETFs were now approved, but it actually wasn't. So the price action for XRP coin today, as you can see, we are trading at 0.5743. We are down by 4% on the 1-day chart. We are down by 12.87%, and we are trading at $1.4 billion. In the earlier hours of the morning, as you can see, we were actually at 0.5673. Now we have gone up by 1 cent. So on the 7-day chart, we are up by 1.29%, and you can see we had that nice spike. Now, unfortunately, it only lasted a few days, right? As you can see, we went from 0.6087 and then we went all of the way to 0.6159. Now, unfortunately, we have actually come down over here. The lowest that we went to was 0.5628. So 56 cents does seem to be our support level, but we have come down by quite a bit, roughly around about 4 cents. So unfortunately, we weren't able to actually hold above that 60-cent level. Now, we are only just under 3 cents away from that, and so I want to see if we can actually get back up to 60 cents. And I think once we are able to do that, then we can move on our way to the 63 to 65 cent range. Guys, if you want daily Ripple XRP coin news, subscribe to the channel and like the video as well.